Hello, friends. So I'm back again, and this time our new episode will be the on the history of India after the Mauryas, and we would look at about 500 years of time frame between 185 BCE to about 300 AD, the time of the demise of Mauryas, to just the start of the Guptas, imperial Guptas in India. We would look at the conditions, the political condition of India during that time. We would look at the Indo-Greek kingdoms. We would look at the Shungas. We would look at Indo-Parthians a little bit, and we would just look at what was going on in that time frame in India. Just because the greatest empire of India till date, after its demise, the country, we would look at what kind of political atmosphere the country was facing during that time. For shortening this video, what I have done is I have not included the Satavahanas and the Indo-Scythians or the Sakas in this episode. I will have a separate video dealing with the Satavahanas and Indo-Kushans. But before we go more into this, we would start with the series with this chapter with our quote as usual, and this is from Arthashastra by Kautilya. And Kautilya says, for a king, his religious vow, vrata, is constant activity in the cause of his people, utthanam. His religious ceremony is the work of administration. His highest charity, dakshina, is the equality of treatment meted out to all. So this is what Kautilya says in Arthashastra. Now we'll look at Mauryan Empire. This is the map of Mauryan Empire. I'll just magnify it. This you can clearly see. This was around the time of while Ashoka was ruling in about 250 BCE, and it encompassed an area whole of modern day Pakistan, half at least half of modern day Afghanistan, past parts of eastern Iran, about 85 to 90% of whole of modern day India, whole of Nepal, whole of Bangladesh, and went up till south near southern Karnataka. Just the small parts, southern limits were outside their area, but this encompassed an area of about 5 million square kilometers, which is the largest empire of India till date. It is larger than Mughals and larger than the British Raj as well. So this is how the empire looked like in about 250 BCE. So we'll just look at the details now. And after the death of Ashoka in about 232 BCE, the Mauryan Empire was consigned to the pages of history. Less than 50 years after Ashoka's death, there was no central authority like Ashoka or comparable to Ashoka who could control everything going on in the empire, and a succession of weak kings, rebellions, and foreign invasions ended this empire by 185 BCE when Pushyamitra Shunga, who was the commander in chief or the Senapati of the Mauryan army, he invited the last king of Mauryans, Brihadartha, to come and inspect his troops. And while the king was inspecting his troops, Pushyamitra assassinated him and started a new kingdom in his name called the Sunga dynasty. So, what did the Mauryan able to achieve? So, the Mauryans were able to achieve the Vedic political ideal as defined in the Atreya Brahmana. Now, Atreya Brahmana or Brahmanas are a subtext of the Vedas, and there are at least three subtext of the Vedas. One is the Brahmanas, another one is Aranyakas, and the third one is Upanishads. So Atreya Brahmana has a word called Ekrat, Now, Ekrat would mean the supreme sovereign of the country up to the seas, and the Mauryas were able to achieve this Vedic political ideal. Uh, the socio-political situation of India just after Alexander's death or Alexander's retreat was just right to create this huge empire. Now, friends, you would know, and we have spoken about it when I was doing my this episodes on Alexander's invasion, that all these small republics and kingdoms who fought Alexander, they fought Alexander to a man. Everyone was involved in fighting the invader, and when after Alexander retreated, and when Chandragupta came up with his army, they had virtually no army to oppose anything. So they became a part of the emerging Mauryan Empire. So that is how the condition of creating such a huge empire like the Mauryans were never ever better in the history of India, like that was in about 4th century BCE. However, it is very difficult to control an area of India, and as I had told, Mauryan Empire extended from Herat in modern day Afghanistan to Bengal, and from Kashmir to southern Karnataka, and all the areas of modern day Balochistan and Sindh were also a part of his of Gupta of the Mauryan Empire. And we'll look at starting with northwest India. Northwest India by 200 BCE it had already become a separate political entity. And there was this king called Subhagasena who was ruling northwest India, and he was confronted by Antiochus III, the king of the Seleucid Empire. And as per Polybius, the Roman historians, who says that the king of Indians, Suphagesenus, confronted Antiochus III, who had to renew his friendship with the Indian king. So Antiochus must have invaded the northwest parts of India, and he was stopped in his tracks by Subhagasena. Both of them then had a peace treaty, and Antiochus then went away towards West Asia and Greeks. He was fighting the Roman Republic at that point of time. So this is what Polybius had to say about Antiochus III and his invasion of India. So when we look at Kashmir now, so this is from Tarangani by Kalhana. And as per these tradition, Ashoka had a son named Jaluka. So Jaluka actually set up his independent kingdom in Kashmir and extended his kingdom by conquest. And as I had already said earlier, in the interior, that is in the Indo-Gangetic plains, the Mauryans were replaced by Shungas in about 185 BCE. Shungas ruled for another 112 years, and they were removed by the Kanwas. Kanwas were the Brahman dynasty of Magadha, who came to power in about 73 BCE, and they ruled for approximately 45 years or 46 years till about 27 BCE, when they were removed by the Andhras. So, and then we would look at Kalinga as well. Now we know that Kalinga was occupied or conquered by Ashoka in about 261 BC, but latest by 190 BC or even earlier than that, Kalinga had become a separate political entity, an independent kingdom. And around that time, they had a great king called Kharavela, who was the Jain king of Kalinga, and he was a menace to Magadha. He conquered parts of Magadha. He defeated the Satavahanas in south of Narmada, and his victorious arm, reached distant south. The empire which Kharavela created didn't last that much long, but he was a menace to all these parts, all these areas like Magda and the Satavahanas and then the distant south. So, and we look at this, India was thus, you can clearly make it out that India was in a state of a great political unrest marked by different states and powers for supremacy. So this political upheaval in the interiors of India gave rise to, you know what, it gave rise to invasions from the northwest. And I would look at these invasions right now. It started with Bactrian Greeks, and it was led by Demetrius and Menander. So Demetrius, we'll just look at his coin. This is the tetradrachm coin of Demetrius I. It's about 185 BCE, and you can look at Demetrius wearing an elephant headgear on the obverse. On the reverse, we have Heracles or Hercules crowning himself, and you can look at the Greek legends besides Hercules, and the Greek legends. These legends says uh, Demetrius unconquered. This is what the Greek legends say in this coin. So this Demetrius in about 185 BCE, he started his invasion of India proper after conquering parts of northwest India. Now we'll look at a greater king of Indo-Greeks, and this is Menander I. You can look at his coin. This is he is called Milinda and Milind Pahano, a great Buddhist document of 2nd century BCE. I can look at the legends surrounding this king, and the legend says of Savior Menander. You can see the word Menander just the bottom of the coin. So this was the great Menander or uh, Milinda of Milinda Pahano, and we have his references in Indian documents of that time. So Patanjali, the great author, he says that Menander besieged Madhyamaka. This is near Chittor in Rajasthan, and Saketa. Saketa is in Ayodhya, and according to Book 5 of Gargik Samhita, he occupied Panchala, which is in Bareilly and Ramnagar district of modern UP. He also conquered Mathura and even threatened Kusumdhwaja or Pataliputra. The extent of this Greek authority and influence of Greeks in India is indicated by Periplus of Erythraean Sea, which is a logbook of 1st century BCE written by an unknown navigator, and it states that the coins of Menander was in circulation at Bargaza. Bargaza is modern Bharuch in Gujarat, and it was a great port in ancient times. And as per the Periplus, the coins of Menander was in circulation at Bargaza 150 years after his death. So as you can see, there are lots of we can just look at the map of Yavan Rajya or the Indo-Greeks, whole of Pakistan, parts of Afghanistan up till Bactria, and in India they had, and modern India that is I am talking about, they had this is not included here, but they had extent over Mathura as per the Yavanrajya inscription of 50 BCE. So they had, as per we could see that Menander conquered Mathura, he went up to Prayaga and Patliputra, and the tide of this invasion was actually stopped by Vasumitra. Vasumitra was the grandson of Pushyamitra, who defeated the Yavanas or the Greeks at the banks of Indus River. But this rivers actually had not much effect on the Greeks, and they captured all these northwest regions, and Menander began to rule from Sangala. Now, Sangal is modern Sialkot. It was an ancient kingdom of Kathas and Madras in Alexander's time and much before. So, modern Sialkot, he was called Sangla in ancient times, and Menander was ruling from there. Now, we'll come to Kushans now. So, by the first century BCE, the Shakas and Pahlavas are the Indo-Parthians and Shakas are the Indo-Scythians. So, they gave way to Yuchi tribe. Now, this was the tribe which was located somewhere in Central Asia, and they were defeated by the Chinese, and they migrated after this defeat and came towards India. And a section of these Yuchi tribes are called Kushans, and their leaders were called Cadepsus I and Cadepsus II, who established this Kushan Empire. And this most famous of this Kushan Empire was Kanishka, who ruled between 125 to about 150 BCE. Look at this Kushan Empire, the map of Kushan Empire, and you can see how huge it was, covering whole of Tarim parts, not exactly Tarim Basin, but it's, it was so huge that it went up till Central Asia and from there to Pataliputra. And if we talk about his Kushan's empire in India or Kanishka's empire in India, we talk about the parts of Kapisa or southern Afghanistan, Gandhara, which is Punjab, Kashmir, Banaras, central India, and parts of and his influence went up to Patliputra. It was such a huge empire that it had two capitals in India. One was Purushpura or Peshawar in modern day Pakistan, and another was Mathura, just about less than 100 kilometers from Delhi, or about 100 kilometers from Delhi. So these were the two capitals of Kushans in India. This is the coin of Kanishka one. See how he looks like. He's wearing his Scythian skirt and Scythian boots, and he has the spear in his left hand. He is putting oblation on an altar with his right hand, and there is a legend surrounding him, and this is a Greco-Bactrian legend which says Shaho Shehen Shaho. The word Shaho Shehen Shaho is was later corrupted into Shahenshah, if you could just imagine. So this word is Shaho Shahenshah Kanishki Koshano, which means King of Kings, Kanishka the Kushan. This is how Kanishka looked like, and this is a gold coin of Kanishka I, who ruled between 125 to about 150 AD. Now, the eastern part of this empire was governed by satraps. So he appointed these satraps called Kharlapana and Vanashpara. And the northern end of his empire was governed by generals called Vipasi and Liyaka. All these names are there in inscriptions found at Mathura, which has these names of his governors. Now we look at the great Kushans. So the great Kushans were Kanishka I, who ruled between 125 to 150 AD. Then Huvishka, the son of Kanishka, 150 to 167, and after that Vasudeva I. So Vasudeva ruled between 175 to about 195 AD. And this is the coin of Vasudeva. It's such a beautiful coin. You can see this is in gold. So on the obverse, you can see the king wearing his helmet, a sword on his left side, and holding up a scepter and making an offering to over an altar. and the legend surrounding this is Shaho Shehanshaho Bazedo Koshano Vasudeva, which means King of Kings, the Savior Kushan Vasudeva. And on the obverse, this is very interesting. You could see there is a deity, a god, with a trident on his left side, a bull with him, and he is called Oisho. Now, this is of course Shiva, but you can see the word Oisho on the right side of the obverse, and Kushans actually copied lot of things from Indian gods as well. So this Oisho is none other than Shiva, who is with his bull Nandi offering a diadem uh, and with a trident in his left hand. So and there is another view of historians who say that Oesho is a conflation of Shiva, the Hindu god of destruction, and Vayu. Vayu is a god in Hindu text as well, but he is a god in Zoroastrian text as well. So he is a conflation of Vayu and Shiva. So this is what the coin of Vasudeva looks like. So what happened was after Vasudeva, the Kushan Empire broke up into small states, and their rulers imitated the coins of Kanishka and Vasudeva, and reigned up to about 3rd and 4th century AD, until the emergence of Guptas from the east and from Sassanid Empire of Persia from the west and north. Now, but there were still remnants of Kushan power left in the northwest, particularly in the parts of modern day Afghanistan, and they are called the Little Kushans by the historians. And these are some of the names in Chinese: Tahua, which is the Oxus region; Kipen, which is Kapisa, southern Afghanistan. Then you had Kapisa or Kabul region, and the borderlands of India near Peshawar. So the even after the demise of the Kushan Empire, there were still remnants of these Kushans who may have been directly or indirectly related to the imperial Kushans. They were still having these small kingdoms in the northwest. And we would further look at the Kushan kings or these little Kushans. One of them gave his daughter in marriage to Sassanid king Hormizd I, who ruled between 301 to 309 AD. While Shapur I, the great king of Persia, he used Indian elephants in his wars against the Romans at the siege of Amida in about 350 AD. But guess what? Very soon, this Sasanian supremacy over these little Kushans was replaced by the Guptas, and we would look at Guptas in near future, where the word Shahi Shahenshaho is mentioned, and it is also mentioned that these little Kushans they were subject to Samudragupta as per his Prayagraj inscription. So, friends, we had looked at in highlights even we had looked at the political condition of India between between about 185 to about 300 185 BCE to about 300 AD. We had looked at the political situation of the country just after the demise of Mauryas, which led to invasions from the northwest, consolidation by the Shungas, the demise of the Shungas, of course, and then we had looked at Kushans and their great kings. So I leave at that. Next time we would look at another facet of ancient India. I thank you all for all your support, again, all your cooperation. Any questions you can, of course, ask me at in the comment section, and you can connect me on Twitter. The ID is given in the description box. And until then, I'll meet again next week for another facet on ancient India. So till then, goodbye.